This is the update to Am I the Asshole for Hanging Up on My Mother in Law after she booked a family holiday that excluded me. From the original post, I'll just let everybody know no, she is not the asshole. Her mother in law is the asshole. But let's see what the update has. 2 days later, update. I posted this question after telling a coworker the story, and she was adamant that I needed to apologize. She said hanging up on anyone, especially my mother in law, was unspeakable no matter what the circumstances were. Her reaction made me wonder, am I the asshole? But after reading your messages, I was flooded with relief. Good, because your coworker is off her rocker if she thinks you were the asshole in this situation. My husband and I have still been receiving voicemails from mother-in-law and brother-in-law. They've escalated to the point that we have now blocked them on forms of social media, email, and our cell phones. The last message my husband received was that they knew something was wrong with me because I have no family, which for context, they are aware that I was abused and starved as a child. I left home at 18 and went no contact. Our house had no locks on the bedroom doors or bathrooms so that there was nowhere to hide from the abuse. The windows were nailed shut, and if I didn't return home right after school, which was timed, then my dad would hit me or make me kneel on rice. People weren't allowed over, not like I wanted them to come over, and my friends used to joke that I lived in Fort Knox because of the security gate and system that the entire neighborhood could see. The only good thing that came from my suffering was perfect grades. It was expected that I'd be an absolute perfect student and always be respectful, presentable, and professional. Anything less than straight A's meant being beaten until I had no tears left to cry. When I threatened to call CPS once after a pretty bad physical incident, my dad said something along the lines of, if you think this is bad, it's worse out there. You're a girl and will be used like a plaything. So I kept my head down, worked hard, did what I was told, acted like I fell in line, and got the hell out of there. I never looked back. His family is well aware of my story, so it was quite shocking to hear his mom bring this up now. For all those asking why we moved when asked, my husband's family presented as very close. Both his parents were only children and his grandparents were no longer living. They were very tight-knit and still take annual family vacations and spend holidays together. Brother-in-law moved a few years ago and traditions carried on. Last year, brother-in-law got engaged and announced that he and his future wife would be trying to have children soon after the wedding. We were all ecstatic. They haven't had a baby in the family for 30 years since my husband was born. Brother-in-law's future in-laws live a few blocks from him and are going to help out whenever they have a baby. And my in-laws threw in their hat to also help out. That's how the move came about. Brother-in-law and mother-in-law asked if we would consider moving as a way to stay together and be in our future niece and nephew's lives. We figured if we could find jobs equal to what we had now, then why not? It was actually welcome since at that point I wasn't living 20 miles away from my parents and was a little anxious about running into them. My husband and I also talked about the possibility of moving, but it seems almost impossible with work, insurance, selling a house, medical treatments. I was on the waiting list for 2 months with the infusion clinic, and we live in one of the largest metropolitan cities. I cannot imagine the setback of trying to get initial appointments with specialists again on insurance approvals. It would negatively affect my health and set me back, if not worsen my condition. Then there's insurance and finding a new job. Neither of our workplaces have other offices, so we'd have to get new roles. And I've heard competition has been tough with layoffs, and coming in as a candidate that needs accommodations for serious illness would be a tough sell. I'd practically miss 1 to 2 days a week, guaranteed. We're lucky that my place of work has been amazing and understanding. They cover 100% of my medical bills, which is unheard of. So for now, we're going to stay and we'll consider a move when I'm better. And at least we know our in-laws won't pay us a visit, so there's some grace in that. At this point, my husband and I acknowledge and accept that priorities have shifted for his family. We will act accordingly and create our new holiday traditions. Any ideas? Also, thank you to everyone for your kind words. And you're right, my husband is pretty hot. I never saw a picture of the husband, so not quite sure where that came from. But OP, here's what I'm going to tell you. One, I had to look up what a micro family was. Apparently, all that means is it's mom and dad and the 2 kids. Nobody else is really included in that. But I will say that after the first portion of the story, you're still not the asshole. This gives more understanding of what your background is. But even if your background had not been abusive, what she did was wrong. Your mother in law is flat out wrong. So, no, you're not the asshole. And tell your friend at work you won't be going to her for advice in the future because she obviously has a very skewed idea of what makes somebody the asshole. And to state that there is never, ever, ever, ever a reason for you to be able to be disrespectful to your mother in law. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Just meet my mother in law. You'll understand. There's absolutely a reason.